Hi everyone, welcome to Spirit of Water Part 3. Gain a deeper understanding of the role water plays between the physical and non-physical. In this series, Pamela is guiding us through changing our relationship with water. Today, we will see what it is capable of doing when consumed conscientiously. We will understand what structured water is and why drinking this living, coherent water is so important for our health. Over to you, Pamela.
Editing this. Hello. So hello and welcome to the Business of You Masterclass, The Spirit of Water. I'm Pamela Horton and I am your teacher today, as well as a holistic executive coach. We're going to be diving deep into, pun intended, into the spirit and science of water. So if you haven't already, grab some paper and pen, maybe some water, a cup of tea or coffee, and join me. And thank you for joining me. It's absolutely a privilege to be able to share this experience with you. I've got my tea and my water, and I'm ready to go. So let's begin. A study was done in 2021 where they found drinking structured water for just 3 months. Hear me when I say this, decreased people's biological age by 12 years. I'm going to say that again. Drinking structured water for just 3 months' time in a study showed that people's biological age decreased by 12 years, meaning their cells were functioning as if they were 12 years younger. So I'm actually going to go back to this other slide. Decreasing the inflammation, I want to talk about a little bit more because inflammation is one of the main causes of disease. And structured water can decrease inflammation by improving the protein folding. And I'm not going to get too scientific here. I just want to talk about our proteins can get out of whack. They can be like a slinky that's been stretched too much and out of shape. Drinking the structured water allows the proteins to snap back into proper form. And our protein is like origami, folded in these just beautiful patterns. But when we become dehydrated and stressed and have chronic cortisol, our proteins really just, like I mentioned, get out of whack and they become stretched as if they and have no elasticity any longer. The structured water pops them back into shape after re-snapping them and brings them back into that natural folding pattern. And protein really regulates most of the tissues in our body. So let me see, I'm just checking my notes to make sure I covered most of that. I wanted to make sure I give you this. Yeah, so misfolded proteins, those overstretched proteins, cause a breakdown in our cellular communication, which makes our bodies less efficient, and over time can cause cell death and the inflammation, which of course causes that disease. So that's where structured water comes in. It binds to the proteins and delivers energy in the form of electrons, again, snapping that misfolded protein back into place so that they can do their job again. With better protein folding, we aren't weighed down by inflammation and we become a stronger and more efficient and a more efficient version of ourselves. So let's go move forward now. So clearly these are plumbing. This is plumbing in a home or some building. And before we had plumbing, most communities settled by running water. Maybe they had to dig for the running water underneath the ground and use the well. But if there was running water to be found, they settled close by it. So I want you to think of a babbling brook with the water rolling and bubbling over rocks and twists and turns. Natural springs, tumbling streams create vortices. Vortexes are the natural way water is structured, or that becomes organized, or hydrogenated, or that living water, and it creates that hexagonal pattern. So the vortex creates the hexagonal pattern, which makes the water structured. Nature structures water, and we can mirror these ways by structuring our drinking water. If there is any reason to ditch tap water, this would be it. Simply put, tap water is not structured. and bottled water is not structured. It flows to us in straight lines and right angles. We also don't want fluoride or chlorine, chloramine, and lead building up in our body every time we take a sip. True? Yeah. Now I'm going to, let's see. Okay, so for sure, there are certain chemicals that the city uses that supplies chlorine and carbon dioxide and other gaseous chemicals to remove the bacteria and viruses that are in our water. That's important, yes. And filtering our water because of those things is important too. But structured water actually helps. It allows the gaseous water treatment chemicals to evaporate, improving the amount of saturated oxygen and balancing the pH and alkalinity in that water. So I want this class to be an invitation for you to reconsider drinking plastic bottled water and tap water. Now, there's a quote that I'm going to share here, and it's by David Lazarus of Los Angeles Times. And he goes on to say that the market leaders for bottled water are just filtering and bottling tap water and then selling it as a big markup. Researchers have found a massive number of plastic particles in bottled water, and that was written in an article that was the title of the article written in January 10th, 2024. Researchers from Columbia and Rutgers University found that there were roughly 240,000 detectable plastic fragments in a typical liter of bottled water. So would you like to know how water is structured if we're not getting it from nature? There are several ways to structure water or to create the vortex. And vortexing water, which gives it that more energy or that charge to charge up our mitochondria, is one of the best ways to make structured water. It makes, in nature, the vortices, as I mentioned, acts as an energy accumulator and transformer. And a vortex can restore the natural energy patterns of something that has become contaminated or disturbed. The vortices can remove any contaminants from water by returning the electromagnetic frequency of that water to the original state. So here are the ways that you can structure your water. Using a blender, a Vitamix. The blender or the Vitamix actually creates a vortex. You look into it, you see the water spinning. You can blend your water to restore its structure, and it generally takes about 20 to 25 minutes. It's loud and it's long, but it's worth it. I did this for a number of years. Another option is called the funnel method, where you grab a 5-gallon bucket of water. You also grab some clean rocks or marbles. Rocks are really wonderful to do. And you get a funnel and you put the rocks in a funnel and you put that funnel over the bucket. So the funnel needs to be big enough. And you pour the water into the funnel and it goes into the bucket. And you need to do this probably about 10 to 15 times, if not more. I'm going to actually say about 20. I used to do it for about 20 times. And that will structure your water. Water structuring devices, however, really are the best choice to ensure that you get all of the vortex's water benefits. So here are two examples of water structuring devices. And these are just for drinking water. The first image is the Mayu swirl, and that's on the right-hand side, actually. And this is a product that will create a swirl in your bottle, in the carafe there, and it will restore the water molecules to its natural state, allowing for faster and more effective absorption into our cells. The analemma wand on the left-hand side is a tool that enhances the quality of our drinking water by transforming it into coherent. Coherent is another term for structured, organized, living, hydrogenated, hexagonal water. Okay, so I want to mention here with the NLM wand too, that coherent, structured, living, hexagonal, organized water. Remember I mentioned it's that viscous state, that honey between a liquid and a solid. It also is known as a crystalline state or crystalline state, a state of harmony and coherence. So, picking up on the word crystalline or crystalline is a perfect segue to talk about crystals and water. Why is the liquid crystalline state, that viscous state, significant? A crystal has an organized molecular pattern that provides channels for the flow of energy and information, just like what the organized water does for our proteins, snapping them back into shape so that they can do their job so our bodies can run efficiently. If we were to look inside the channels of the crystals, we would see that there's a spiral created just like our DNA helix. This is such fascinating stuff, and I'm not even into my most favorite part of the class here. An example of organization is the difference between a coal and a diamond. Pressure on the coal causes the molecules to be more and more organized. And I'll tell you, if I have not created a case for structured water, try proposing with a lump of coal versus a diamond. Molecular organization changes the properties of a substance. Quartz crystals are used in technology because they can amplify sound and energy. Structured water amplifies energy in our human body. Crystals transduce that energy. They are able to convert mechanical pressure into electrical currents into other forms of energy. Not only are we mostly water, we're also made up of electricity. We have electrical currents running through our body. If we were to hold a crystal between our forefinger and our thumb, and with that pressure, we are forming electrical currents within that pressure and into that crystal, producing the mechanical vibrations so exact that we can actually keep accurate time with them, such as the quartz watch. Quartz crystals are semiconductors capable of processing energy and information with capacity to detect, switch, store, modulate, filter, rectify, and amplify energy. Water, hydrogenated water, organized water, structured water, living water, hexagonal water, has a crystalline state. It amplifies our energy. It's delivered directly to our mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of every one of our cells. Crystals are very powerful technology because of their molecular organization, their molecular structure. Molecularly structured water is extremely powerful. Now we're getting into my most favorite part of the class here. Structured or organized water, remember we said is hexagonal. This pattern repeats in the crystalline phase, which is the same geometry in a quartz crystal, which happens to be reflected even in a snowflake, the solid crystalline form of water. Properties of the liquid crystalline, organized, structured, living water are similar to quartz crystals. And everything that crystals can do, liquid, crystalline, organized, structured water can do as well for our bodies. The purpose of water in the human body is to relay and store information. Remember what I said, water holds memory, and to amplifies biological signals and to change one form of energy into another that is more useful and more effective. Isn't that something that we would love and need for our bodies? I know I do. Structured, organized, coherent, crystalline, viscous, living water is the key to beat dehydration, inflammation, anti-aging. Proper hydration is the fountain of youth. Water is more organized in a baby's body than in an adult's, unless we are drinking structured water. When water's organization deteriorates in the body, that's when we begin to get sick and show signs of aging. Dr. Raymond Damadian, he's the bottom left here. He's the creator of the first MRI. And he found in his research that water in cancerous cells had lost organization, had lost their structure. Their structure was less viscous. Dr. Mushik John, top right, during his 40-year career, studied the molecular structure of water. And he found in his research that regular consumption of structured water was associated with better detoxification, heightened immune system, better nutrient absorption, mental clarity, improved athletic performance, and longevity. Now, if you are someone who is experiencing menopausal symptoms, brain fog, you can get brain fog with ADHD tendency traits, drinking structured water is such a benefit to you. Dr. Mei-Woon Hu, here on the bottom right, tells us that molecular organization is a measure of life force. No different from the quote about aging is merely becoming more and more dry. So water has memory. You've heard me say this before. And at the Resonance Science Foundation in October of 2018, a new ground discovery was made regarding water. Scientists discovered what they called the discovery of the millennium and a huge revelation of human consciousness. This is really fascinating. They discovered that water has a memory, meaning that when what once was seen as a simple commodity now has been closely examined to reveal scientific revelation, uncovering a mind-blowing truth. They did an experiment where they took a group of 100 students, and that each student had a sample of water from the same body of water. And every student placed the same flower, same type of flower. I don't know if it was a daisy, a Gerber daisy. I'm not sure. I don't remember the name, the type of flower it was, but every student had the same kind of flower. Each student placed that flower in the sample of water that they held and had, and they were responsible for. After that flower was in that water for a significant amount of time, actually, I think it was just a few minutes, because it doesn't take long for water to hold that memory of what is in it. They took a sample of every student's sample of water that came from an original source of water, and they put the sample of water on a slide and took a picture of it. And every picture from every student in that experiment looked similar. The water was holding the memory of the cells of that flower. Now, same group of students, same body of water. Each student got a different sample of water from that same body of water and didn't put anything in it. They just held it. They took a sample of their sample, put it on a slide and froze it, took a picture of it, and every water sample was different according to the student who was holding it. I'm going to show you pictures of some studies here in a second. Think about that for a moment. The results of the flower produced a mesmerizing pattern when it was highly magnified, but all of the droplets of this water looked very similar, as I mentioned, because the flower was similar. When the same experiment was done, but the image was of the student holding, it was based on every student. The water looked different. So the discovery shows that water has memory. I'm going to show you again here some few more examples of this. The gentleman on the right, top left here, is Dr. Masaru Emoto, and he offered through his work an eye-opening theory about water's deep connection to people's individual consciousness. So water has memory, and I said earlier on that water also responds to human consciousness, intelligently so. Drawing from his own discoveries, Dr. Masaru Emoto shows that water has the ability to absorb, hold, and even retransmit human feelings and emotions. Using high-speed photography, he too found that crystals formed in ice reveal changes when specific concentrated thoughts were directed toward it. So Dr. Masaru Emoto took a sample of water from a body of water. He separated it into two containers. One container had words that were loving and encouraging and peaceful and kind, and the other container would have words that were hateful and deceitful and just not nice, bullying perhaps. He would also play different types of music. The one sample would have uplifting music, Mozart, um, uh, joyful music. The other sample would be played that heavy death metal type music or music that wasn't very kind or even in discord. And when he would take a sample from each of those containers, he would put it on the slide, freeze it, and he would take pictures of the water droplet, and it would produce either amazing crystalline, beautiful images, or it would produce images that were tainted in discord and disarray. And I'm going to show you a couple of examples here. So remember when I told you that we are 73 to 83% water, and molecularly speaking, we are 99.9% water? What thoughts, words, music, conversations do you surround and submerge yourself in? I'm curious. I'm going to talk about Veda Austin in a moment also. She's a water researcher too, not a scientist. Her actual career is that of a photographer, but I'm going to show you some examples where she picks up where Dr. Masaru left off. So here's Dr. Masaru's work. And the images that I was mentioning to you where he had the samples of different words. One was thank you and wisdom. The top bottom right, you fool. These are the bottom images are music and frequencies that are known to uplift and have an impact on the human body. Just look at the beautiful images that are created. Excuse me. From these words, and look at the image of you fool, how distorted that is in disarray. So Dr. Emoto believes that since people are more than half water and the Earth's surface is 70% water, we can heal our planet and ourselves by consciously expressing love and goodwill. By holding the intention of peace towards water, by thinking, speaking, and acting with the intention of peace towards water, water can and will bring peace to our bodies and to the world. I'm living proof of that. My clients are living proof of that.
Thank you, Pamela, for this eye-opening and informative exploration into the Spirit of Water Part 3. You've given us so much to reflect on how water isn't just a resource. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Stay tuned for Part 4, and as always, stay curious, stay connected.